Hello, Gospel Life Church. In today's devotional, we'll be looking at a short passage in Philippians chapter 2, verses 14 through 15. I'll start by reading the passage. Do all things without grumbling or disputing, that you may be blameless and innocent, children of God without blemish, in the midst of a crooked and twisted generation, among whom you shine as lights in the world. So as I was thinking through and basically a passage to share this week in the weekly devotional, this one kept coming back to mind. I would say that probably the large part being that I've been convicted by this. Basically, I find that in my own life, it's so easy to get caught up with everyone else in the world, to grumble and dispute, especially amid the environment that we're in currently. So I keep finding that oftentimes I have to take a step back and realize that when we as Christians grumble and dispute, oftentimes we can be grumbling and disputing against what God has purposely put into our lives, even for our own benefit sometimes. We can be questioning God's providence when we do this. As Pastor Dave has been going through the series on the imitation of Christ, I've been reminded by this passage, and I've been reflecting on Paul's instruction in this passage. Do all things without grumbling or disputing. So let's look at the why, which comes next in Paul's statement. That you may be blameless and innocent, children of God without blemish, in the midst of a crooked and twisted generation. I believe one of the major points that Paul is getting at is that in our Christian walk, as we're in this world, we should be different. We should be above reproach amid the world that we're in. If we look at the context of this verse, it could also be applied for us to not grumble and dispute over God's commandments and our call to service in this life. When we look at the fruits of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control, we know that grumbling and disputing, it's not the fruits of the Spirit. It's the fruits of the flesh coming out within us. The next thing we see in this passage is that we are to be lights in the world. As a Christian, we should stand out. To create an illustration around this, imagine a captain on a ship out in the middle of a sea during a fierce storm at night, when all he can see is the dark, raging sea around him. And then that captain spots a bright beacon shining forth in the night sky like a diamond shimmering in a coal mine. We are to be that bright beacon as a Christian, standing out from the rest of the world, representing Christ, because we are not like the world. We are not grumbling and disputing like everyone else. Our temperament should be above reproach in the midst of a crooked and twisted generation. So the other part that I think about with this is, as we drill down to the root of this, what causes us to grumble and dispute? It's clearly our flesh coming out. And I think about James chapter 4, verse 1. What causes quarrels and fights? It's our passions at war within ourselves. When we grumble and dispute and quarrel, we're focused on ourselves. We're not focused at that time on Christ and fulfilling God's will in our lives. To just be blunt, we're acting like the world and not as Christians. So I hope that you'll join me in thinking about this, especially as, like I said, in the temperament of the world right now, with everything going on. I know this is something that I am reflecting on as I am sanctified in the truth, as I become more and more like Christ through the work of the Holy Spirit. This is something that is definitely personal to me. So anyway, I hope this devotional was of help to you. I pray that for all of us that we will keep our minds focused on heavenly things and not on earthly things. And anyway, with that, that's the end, and I hope to see you all this Sunday. Take care.